Welcome to the online presentation for the Mini Skirt March. My name is Nicole, and I will be your voiceover for this podcast or digital presentation, whatever you'd like to call it. The other contributors to our project are Julia, Serena, and Tori. The Mini Skirt March is a protest against sexual and physical violence against women in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwean women are experiencing gender-based violence, which is said to be provoked by Western or pornographic attire. When women are wearing miniskirts, tight pants or jeans, bell-bottoms, etc., it is considered to be indecent dress and viewed as un-African. Not only were women attacked based on their clothing choices, but also other choices they made in regards to their appearance. Doing things like straightening hair, wearing wigs, or using skin lighteners also caused women to be violently attacked on the streets. In the Malawi News in 1968, it was stated that miniskirts and dresses are a diabolical fashion which must disappear from the country once and for all. Foreign women are setting a bad example to our young girls, and we will not tolerate anyone who wants to spoil our nation by importing these diabolical fashions. These views have resulted in a miniskirt ban in Uganda in 1971 in order for skirt to be at least 3 inches below the knee from President Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia, and a bill for Uganda's Anti-Pornography Act. Here's a little clip to show the kind of discrimination that African women faced, not only from men, but also from other women.
Yes, Francine.
Why exactly are you pulling that skirt? Didn't you see it when you were leaving home that your thighs were outside? Or are you surprised? You're looking at your thighs and saying, hey, they are out. Didn't you see them when you were leaving your house at home? And you just come and why would you expose such thighs? Bad thighs like that. Those legs, why would you expose something like that? What if now a dog runs after you? How are you going to run? Like this? How are you going to run in such a dress? What if a car knocks you?
How is it your business?
My dear, this is a public road here. I pay tax.
So?
This is a public road. Children can pass. You are about to traumatize people's children, showing them pornography. That's why the levels of pornography now are very high, yeah? That we ban them from media.
There are many issues surrounding the creation of these laws, most importantly, the attitude that men have towards women that would cause them to feel the need to control how women dress and act so that they aren't provoked into attacking them. Instead, there should be a focus on creating laws that punish men who attack women based on their clothing choices. Women shouldn't be attacked based on the clothes that they choose to wear. Men should just learn to not attack women based only on physical appearances. African leaders view themselves as the fathers of the nation, with public life as an extension of family life, and put these laws in place to maintain order. So, like we saw in the video, anyone in public feels like they can criticize a person based on their clothing choices because they feel like their children are being exposed to pornography. When women are seen in miniskirts, they have been mobbed, beaten, and raped by male perpetrators who are seen to be maintaining family honor, disciplining, punishing, and protecting in the name of African culture, and thus are not viewed as criminals. In South Africa, taxi ranks are an especially dangerous area of attacks for women. In February 2008, 25-year-old Nwabisa Nkaganda was publicly stripped, humiliated, and sexually assaulted by taxi drivers in Johannesburg. She was the 4th woman to be assaulted in this way at that rank on that evening, and 3 other women were stripped and sexually assaulted at the same taxi rank on the previous day. In each of these cases, the fact that the women were wearing miniskirts was cited as a reason for the attack. An incident where a woman was assaulted at a taxi stand in Harare was recorded on video, and this is the video that sparked the miniskirt march movement. When the video went viral on social media in December 2014, women activists were outraged and wanted to take a head-on approach to put an end to the violence against women. So even though Nwabisa was assaulted in 2008 and gained enough attention that we know of this specific attack, the actual social movement didn't take place for another 6 years. Various ideas were spoken amongst the activists, but the one that stood out was the miniskirt march. The actual march itself was organized by Katswe Sisterhood. The Zimbabwean women took to the streets, many in their miniskirts, to protest their shared experiences of assault with signs reading messages such as, "Don't sexualize my body," "Give us maternal health care," "Don't undress us on the streets," "Keep your eyes off my thighs," and "Fix the economy," and many more. The march is a demand for the respect and safety of Zimbabwean and South African women, as well as a way to show support for those who have had their lives forever changed due to the horrific acts of violence. Here's a clip showing the miniskirt march as it took place.
Because that's what we like. We like wearing miniskirts and we're not going to stop it. Because anytime you wear a miniskirt, they'll be shouting at you, touching you, which is not right.
Now I'm going to move on to connecting the miniskirt march to different tactics, principles, and theories that can be found in Beautiful Trouble and Beautiful Rising. These tactics, principles, and theories can be applied to many social movements and can contribute to the success of a movement if they are utilized properly, especially within the right context of a movement. The first tactic that we discovered within our movement was mass street action. So mass street action is one of the most evident tactics used in the miniskirt march. Women found strength in numbers to walk together to show a collective group of people who wanted a change in society. The large group of women walking together was also important for safety reasons, to have more public demonstrations so that they can walk alone in these outfits without having to always be in a group like they were just for the demonstration. So the second tactic that we're going to take a look at with the miniskirt march is direct action. So in the miniskirt march, they were marching because women were the ones that were being harassed and assaulted, and so they then took matters into their own hands to change their treatment. They themselves showed the public exactly what is wrong and reimagined what is possible by going out into the streets wearing the kinds of clothes that they want to be allowed to wear without having to fear some kind of retaliation in the form of violence or sexual assault. So those were a couple of the key tactics that we examined in relation to the miniskirt march. So now we're going to move on to some of the principles that we found that they employed throughout the march. So we examined 3 principles in relation to the miniskirt march, and the first one is show, don't tell. So the march is made visual through the use of dresses, or in this case, like skirts and the mini skirts that they wanted to be able to wear. So women dressing in mini skirts or clothing that was deemed inappropriate shows exactly what they were protesting when they're viewed. So you can't look at them and like kind of question what the meaning is behind their protest. Yes, they had signs that explained what they were doing, but their clothing was also very prominent and was the main display for their protest. Foster safer places is the second principle that we found was utilized in the march, and we found this one in Beautiful Rising. It's one of the most important principles used, and therefore the march itself is declared a safe space for women to dress how they choose. Because there was such a large number of women, it would have been very hard for men to react in a negative way to such a large group. They wouldn't have been able to rally the same number of men in a shorter amount of time because they didn't know that the march was going to be happening at that kind of a scale. So the goal behind this march is for women to be safe in their homes, in their communities, just driving around in the taxis, no matter how they choose to dress. And so the women banded together and did this protest and were safe in doing the protest because of the number, and they wanted to be able to get this safe space throughout their entire community, not just on this one day. The third and final principle that we decided to take a look at is brand or be branded. So everything is branded. It doesn't matter where you go in life. And so the miniskirt march itself brands on the use of miniskirts and the message it conveys. So the message that they put into the miniskirt is safety and equality for women, and this is seen through the principle of foster safer places. So these two really tie together with the whole idea behind the miniskirt and being in a large group of women and kind of proclaiming exactly what it is you want to do with your protest and the idea of what it is they're fighting for in Zimbabwe and South Africa. So those were a couple of important principles that we looked at. Now we're going to examine a couple of key theories that we found to be associated with the miniskirt march. So action logic is a key theory that can be associated with the miniskirt march because people would see women marching in miniskirts and revealing clothing through the streets in Zimbabwe. So due to the dress of the women and the size of the group, it would have been very obvious as to the issue being protested. As we saw in the video, it was a huge group of people, and so it really would have been hard to miss that. Like, it just impossible. You couldn't have been in that area and not have known what was going on. Because harassment was a huge issue in the country and a collective group of women wearing clothes that has defined the issue, it's very obvious logic to the outside eye. Everyone knows that miniskirts are not supposed to be worn in public and that the harassment of women wearing miniskirts is a huge issue. And so seeing such a large group of women and other people in the streets wearing miniskirts, it would have been very obvious as to what it was these women were talking about, not only because of their skirts, but also because they had signs that stated the obvious. The final theory that we're going to be taking a look at comes from Beautiful Rising and is feminism. Feminism is so important to mention because it's clearly at the root of the movement. This is a movement comprised of strong females who are fighting for their right to wear certain types of clothing. Their clothes should not be defined by men who have power, and so feminism is used to express the desire for equality for women and girls. And we saw this throughout the class with the Paris Commune and the suffragette movement. So being subjected to violence due to clothing worn conventionally by women is using gender as an excuse for harassment. Feminism and the fight for gender equality is needed to stand up for fair treatment of women, in this specific case, the violent treatment and social norms. The feminist movement and issues surrounding female sexuality have not gone away, and I think that's why it's important to highlight this social movement. It's one that no one in our group had heard of before, and it's really sad to know that women are being bound by law, not just social norms, but legally bound to wear or not wear certain things. So thanks to this group of strong women, hopefully we can one day inhabit an earth where this type of misogyny and sexism no longer takes place. Thanks for listening to our podcast. I hope you enjoyed and learned a little bit of something new today.